What's up guys, and welcome back to another G35 video. It has been a minute since I've uploaded, I know, but we're back at it again. So it's officially been 20 years since the G35 was first announced. That's insane. It's already been so long, and I think that the G35s actually look really good for the age. So in celebration for 20 years on the G35, I'm gonna go ahead and do a video on the history of the G35, basically talking about everything G35 related. So go ahead and sit back and let's get started with the video. Third generation G, which was called the V35, was unveiled in June 2001 and was released in North America for the 2003 model year as the G35 on March 12, 2002. According to Carlos Ghosn, the CEO of Nissan Motors at the time, which by the way had an insane story where he basically scammed Nissan and got put into jail because of that, and then he fled to a different country in a box. He got shipped out. That's a crazy story, but they chose the letter G basically for, marketing purposes, and it was just similar to this letter J. So they basically paid respect to the J30, and that was kind of the reason why they went with the G series. The G35 and sedan was designed by Hiroshi Hasegawa. They ended up finalizing the design in late 2000 for the G35 Coupe, which is insane, the fact that it's 20 years old, but realistically the design for the G35 is way more than 20 years old. Hiroshi was also the chief designer for the R35 GTR, so that's why they kind of seem similar in the sense of how they look like. Yeah, he's 2 for 2 on that. GTR and G35, definitely really good looking cars, and I think they really held up with time as new cars came out. The 2003 G35 Coupe would be priced at around $30,000, which in today's money is like $48,000. The G35 was based off the FM platform, which is shared with the 350Z and other Infiniti models like the M series and also the FX series. The G35 was Motor Trend's Car of the Year for 2003, and the G35 was also nominated for the North American Car of the Year award that year and was on Car and Driver 10 Best list for 2003 and 2004. So right off the bat, in the first 2 years of the G35, which arguably were the worst years that it had, it was already winning awards, which is really a true testament to how well the car was engineered. Both body styles are available with either a 5-speed automatic Tiptronic or a 6-speed manual transmission, although the automatic was only offered for the all-wheel drive sedan. Fun fact, the all-wheel drive G35's the first generation transmission manufacturer was not Jatco, which is typically the manufacturer for Nissan and all the automatics. This one was actually made by Aisin, which if you guys are familiar with that, you guys would know that Aisin essentially makes all of Toyota's transmissions. So I'm kind of curious to know the reliability of those transmissions because they are kind of unicorns in that aspect. So the G35 was assembled in Kaminokawa, Tochigi, Japan, and the first G35 was built in January of 2002 as a 2003 model, while the Coupe would start production in June of 2002. The first refresh of the G35 sedan, which came essentially a couple months later in November, December of 2002, they ended up revising that and they switched from a clutch fan to all electric fans. If you are familiar with the channel, you guys would know that I made a video where you do the idler pulley delete on your G35. Essentially that pulley was the one that was used for the Vazquez fan. The clutch fan don't need it, and later on in the series of the VQ35 they ended up removing it on the FX35 model in 2008. They just figured they didn't need it, so you can essentially get rid of that pulley that was used for the clutch fan and just run a shorter belt, and you don't even have to worry about that pulley ever again. A 6-speed manual became available in the 2003 sedan, and it was always an option on the Coupe. For the 2003-2004 model years, the V6 produced 260 horsepower, 260 torque in the sedan, and 280 and 270 pound-feet of torque for the Coupe. Both 2003 and 2004 6-speed manual G35 Coupes had the option of the Brembo brakes and the performance and tire package. If you didn't get the performance and tire package, you would just receive the 17-inch wheels instead of having the 18-inch wheels, which in my opinion, I think the 18-inch wheels look way better than the 17-inch wheels. In the 2005 and 2006 models for the sedan, 2005 to 2007 models for the Coupe, those with the automatic transmission that was actually updated to have auto rev matching, both sedan and Coupe ended up having 280 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque, and then the ones with the manual transmission that came with the updated CD09 that we all know and love. They got a bump in horsepower, of course, because of the rev up engine that became a different engine for the manual transmissions. They ended up getting a bump in power to 298 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, both sedan and coupe with the manual transmissions, like I said.
It's a state of control. It's mental. It's physical. It's powerful. Athletes call it being in the zone. We call it being in the driver's seat. The new 6-speed G35 with a sport-tuned suspension and now 298 horsepower. The G35 from Infiniti.
Brembo brakes were removed for the 2005 and 2006 models. The brakes were redesigned with larger discs and a different caliper design. This was partly in response to a number of complaints from the previous year's brakes, which included a class action lawsuit filed in California related to premature wear on 2003-2004 models, which is absolutely insane, by the way, that this was an actual thing. This was an actual class action lawsuit where a bunch of people got money. I haven't had that issue. I think that because they are performance brakes and, you know, people weren't maybe used to that, they thought that they were going a little bit too quickly, but they ended up getting a settlement of $2,500 individually, so each person ended up getting that money. This is based off of the forums that I saw where everybody was talking about it. So if you're interested in seeing that, go on the forums, check out the actual paperwork and everything that happened. To be fair, I think it's something that if you have performance brakes, they're obviously going to wear out quicker than non-performance brakes. It's just kind of a given. On the 2005 coupes, 3 new colors: Athens blue, Lakeshore slate, and Serengeti sand. I can't pronounce that. Those 3 colors replaced the Twilight blue, Caribbean blue, and also Desert Platinum, which myself, I have a Desert Platinum 2004. And like I was saying earlier, that they had the optional 19-inch Rays wheels, which were made by the company Rays. Those were forged wheels made out of one piece of aluminum, which is a really cool thing, really cool concept. It seems like such a normal thing now, but I'm sure back then that was such a rare thing to find, especially for kind of like a luxury car, not really something that's really sporty, especially with all the critics really praising it, getting car of the year for Motor Trend and all these awards and people loving the car. I feel like it's a no-brainer to try to update it, make it a little bit better each and every year. I think that they really nailed it by making a better engine, better transmission, different wheels, different interior. It kept getting better and better as time progressed, which is really cool. Not only that, with the rev-up motors, Infiniti ended up knowing this, that they had this oil consumption problem that we all know and love, and because of that, they actually had a test that they would perform on your G35 to see the oil consumption that it was having. So essentially, they would fill it up and top up the oil, have you drive it an X amount of miles, come back, and they'd check how much oil you burned, and if they deemed it to burn too much, there was like a little chart that they had. If they deemed it to burn too much, they would end up giving you a replacement engine for free. By the way, guys, I made G35 air fresheners, so if you're interested in picking one up for yourself, they will be on my website. Go ahead and check out goagainst.co. It's a cherry freshener to represent the cherry blossoms in the picture, so go ahead and pick yourself up a air freshener at goagainst.co. Rear active steering also became a feature on these G35s where the rear wheels will turn as well. So in high speed, it would give you stability. In low speed, it would actually give you better steering angle for tight spots on parking lots. So I know that the R34s have this rear active steering as well. A lot of people just delete it, getting a delete kit just to not have that anymore. So for 2006, there were further changes made to the design. This would include new headlights, which would be projector design, and also taillights that would include the trunk button on them and a new sport front bumper. Bluetooth was also introduced for the first time, enabling hands-free calling. A keyless entry engine start system was also added, and I think it's really cool, mainly due to the fact that it only had 5 years of production, and that was a lot of money that was being spent into modernizing it and updating it. At the same time, in the background, they were working on the G37 from like 2004 to all the way to 2005. They already were working on the G37. As for the sedan, in 2006, that would be the end of the run for that third generation G35 sedan. In 2007, they would go ahead and do a whole nother different looking model with a different engine as well. The G35 Coupe, on the other hand, would stay the same for 2007 and have all the same features that the 2006 one would have. Design work for the new G series started in 2003 and continued to 2004 when Hideo Komaro's design was chosen for the sedan. The Nissan R35 GTR made its North American debut in 2007. Obviously, before the car's launch, Nissan had to figure out a way to really test test the car without showing the actual body of the car they were planning on using. They ended up putting a twin-turbo VR30 engine from the GTR R35 onto the G35 and made a special version of the G35 with the engine and transmission and all-wheel drive system from the R35, which in my opinion is insane. It's nuts. It's basically the most beefed up G35 you will ever see that Nissan made. It is insane that, you know, it looks just like a beefed up G35. It's essentially got everything from a GTR: the transmission, the engine, the all-wheel drive system, and the 6-piston brakes were also included on the G35, which is insane. So I think that's really unique. Not a lot of people know about this, and I think it's a super cool fact. So like I said, in 2007 they ended up doing a redesign to the sedan where they included the far superior VQ35 HR engine, handing even more power than the 2007 Coupe, which still had the DE motor. So the 2007 G35 sedan ended up having a lot of structural reinforcements around the engine and rear floor area, along with 3 times more laser welding and 16% more spot welds than the older version. The overall body stiffness was improved by 40%, which is insane, the fact that it's 40% more rigid. So the sport package on the G35 sedan ended up coming with bigger front brake calipers, ended up coming with a limited slip differential. This updated engine ended up producing 306 horsepower at 6,800 RPM and 268 foot-pounds of torque at 4,800 RPM. So in 2007-2008 for the sedan, the G35 sedan would end on 2008 being the last model year of the G35 name, and the last model year for the G35 Coupe version would be in 2007 with the introduction of the Coupe version of the G37 in 2008 with the VHR engine, which is a whole nother thing. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was really fun to make, knowing the ins and outs of everything that happened with this G35, and I'm sure I missed a bunch. It'd be really cool to hear some of your guys' stories, maybe knowledge that you guys have, people that have owned these since brand new and know the ins and outs of what happened. But again, 2023, 20 years old for the G35 Coupe and the G35 sedan. So with that being said, go ahead and leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Plenty of G35 content, and I may or may not have a surprise for you guys in the future of a brand new project coming to the channel. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.